Orleans has been drinking it every morning for over 150 years. Before that, Confederate soldiers were brewing it in field camps along the Mississippi. Before that, Roman legions were carrying it dried across North Africa and the Middle East. Before that, Egyptian physicians were prescribing it in the oldest surviving medical text ever found. Every single one of them was taking a daily COX-2 inhibitor without knowing it. The plant is chicory root. The compound is lactucopicrin. And the preparation that carried it across 3,000 years of continuous human use is not a tincture, not a capsule. It is a roasted root. The same method a Civil War soldier used in 1863. The same method New Orleans coffee culture preserved. The same method you are going to make in your own kitchen today. The roasting step is what most people skip. It is also the step that changes everything about the flavor and the daily consistency of use. I will show you exactly how to do it. Chicory. Cicorium intybus in Latin. Intybus derived from the ancient Egyptian word chicory, meaning simply the one that opens. The Romans named the genus after an Egyptian word, because Egyptian physicians documented it first. You know the flower even if you have never learned the name. Small, true blue, the exact color of an early morning sky, blooming on the shoulder of every rural American road, every summer. It opens at 6 in the morning and closes by noon, precise enough that Roman scholars used it as a field clock. The flower is not what we are working with today. Today we are working with the root, cream-colored, firm, dense, reaching 12 inches long in its second year. Break a piece and white milky sap appears immediately. That bitterness is lactucopicrin. Smell it once and you will recognize it in every cup of New Orleans coffee you ever drink again. God stored the remedy underground, sealed from frost, waiting across 3,000 years to be recognized. The Ebers Papyrus was written by Egyptian physicians around 1,500 years before Christ. It is one of the oldest medical documents ever found. On its pages, chicory root appears specifically for what the authors called purifying the blood and strengthening the liver, which was the ancient vocabulary for reducing systemic inflammation. They were not guessing. They were recording centuries of accumulated clinical observation in the only language they had for what we now call the inflammatory cascade. Roman military physicians formalized this into field protocol. The legions that built the ancient world carried dried chicory root on campaigns across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Not as food, as medicine. For joint pain, digestive inflammation, and the fevers that came with long marches through cold and wet terrain. When the Union naval blockade cut off coffee supplies to the Confederate South in 1862, soldiers and civilians in New Orleans turned to roasted chicory root as a substitute. They were improvising. Without knowing it, they were taking a daily COX-2 inhibitor. The city never stopped. Today, the people drinking Café du Monde are continuing a protocol that traces directly back to those Egyptian physicians, 3,000 years of unbroken daily use. The knowledge nearly disappeared everywhere else after pharmaceutical anti-inflammatories arrived in the 1950s. New Orleans simply never got the memo. That continuity is what you are about to restore in your own home. Here is what 3,000 years of consistent human use was actually doing, and why. Chicory root contains lactucopicrin, a sesquiterpene lactone that inhibits COX-2, the enzyme that triggers the inflammatory cascade responsible for joint pain, stiffness, and swelling in both osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. Ibuprofen works by blocking that same enzyme. The difference is that lactucopicrin does not produce the gastric lining erosion, kidney load, or cardiovascular risk associated with long-term NSAID use. A clinical trial at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center Tested chicory root extract specifically in patients over 50 with hip or knee osteoarthritis. After 1 month of consistent daily use, 72% showed at least 20% improvement in pain, stiffness, and overall joint function. Published in BMC Musculoskeletal Disorders. One important note: roasting changes the flavor profile and improves daily palatability. It does not destroy the lactucopicrin. The compound survives the roasting process intact, which is precisely why this preparation sustained itself across 3,000 years of daily use. Everything I share here is meant to work alongside your healthcare, not instead of it. If you manage arthritis with medication, speak with your doctor before adding a concentrated herbal preparation to your daily routine. The root you want for this preparation is a second-year root harvested in October, after the above-ground plant has fully dried and died back. That root has spent 2 full seasons building lactucopicrin and inulin reserves underground. If you do not yet have chicory growing, plant seeds directly on the soil surface in October in full sun, lean soil, pressed to 1/4 inch depth. Water once. Harvest the root the following October. Until then, dried chicory root is available at most health food stores and online. Look for sliced root, not powdered. This preparation is what Confederate soldiers called their camp coffee, and what New Orleans has served every morning since 1862. The roasting is what separates this from a standard decoction. It deepens the flavor, reduces the raw bitterness that makes people quit after 2 days, and creates the aromatic complexity that makes this a preparation you will actually drink every morning without effort. Here is the exact method. Take 1 cup of dried sliced chicory root, not powdered, sliced. Spread in a single layer in a cast iron skillet over medium heat. No oil, no butter, dry roasting only. Stir continuously for approximately 15 minutes. You are watching for 2 things. The color must reach a deep, even dark brown, not black, not tan, dark brown throughout. And the smell must shift from raw and grassy to deep, earthy, and slightly caramel. That aromatic shift is the confirmation that the roasting is complete. If it smells burnt rather than toasted, you went past the window. Start again. Remove from heat immediately when both signs are present. Spread on a paper towel to cool completely, approximately 10 minutes. Store cooled roasted root in a sealed glass jar. It keeps for up to 6 months at room temperature. To brew, 1 tablespoon of roasted sliced root per cup of water. Cold water into a small saucepan. Bring to the lowest possible simmer. Small steady bubbles from the bottom, never a rolling boil. Uncovered for 15 minutes. The liquid turns deep amber brown. Strain through a fine mesh strainer into your mug. Drink 1 cup in the morning before breakfast. A 2nd cup in the early afternoon if desired. A small amount of raw honey softens the edge without reducing the active compound. Do not add dairy. Milk proteins bind to the active polyphenols and reduce absorption. Use daily. The anti-inflammatory effects are cumulative. They build over 2 to 3 weeks of consistent use. The patients in the University of Texas study used it for a full month before results were measured.